Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video is a Black Library review. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at one of the many publications brought out by Black Library and giving you our thoughts on the book, audio drama, whatever it happens to be. Now, I will say that we will try to keep this review to as spoiler free as possible, though there will obviously be points where we talk about things happening in the book. We will try to keep away from saying any of the major plot points, so you can go and read this book for yourself. We'll just give you our thoughts on whether or not we think it is something you may be interested in. So we'll use this video to instruct you on maybe is this sort of going to be a book that you would like to see. With that all said and out the way, let's get cracking on. Let's talk a little bit about the book that we have reviewed this time. For today's Black Library review, we're going to be checking out Huron Blackheart, Master of the Maelstrom by Mike Brooks. And as always, I generally listen to audio versions, as I like to listen to them while I paint, while I do some other hobby and stuff like that. And this one was narrated by Andrew Wincott. I really enjoyed his narration, and a really cool little touch at the end. In the This is Audible, or the credits and sort of talking about it at the end, he still did the video or the audio rather, in Huron Blackheart's voice that he used throughout the entire story. I thought it was a really, really nice touch and something really cool. It made, the story just have that really fun little ending, and I can't express how much at the end this sort of just put a smile on my face. It was a really nice little thing just to add to the narration that I thought gave so much just to the end of that story. Was really, really cool. I really enjoyed this, so well done, Andrew. I don't think I've listened to anything audio by Andrew just yet so far on any of our reviews, but this was really fun to listen to. Good solid story. Let's get into the review proper. And so, setting the scene for the story. This story is pretty much set around the time of the Indominus Crusade. It doesn't give you any sort of particular things, particular sort of timelines, but like Guilliman's back at the head of the Imperium. He's sort of on crusades. It's mentioned multiple times of crusades. Huron seems to know that Guilliman is back and know a little bit of information, which is cool. And so we follow Huron Blackheart as he attempts to sort of further his holdings and hold on power within the Maelstrom region, obviously at the head of his Red Corsairs. It's during this sort of time that Huron has an ally, and I use that term very, very loosely, and there are no true allies in Chaos or in the Renegades, as Huron makes sure that he is not Chaos, he is a Renegade, and this person appears with a rather special prize. That is the Macragge's Honor, a rather large Ultramarines ship that he's managed to take from the Ultramarines. And he says he has the location of a very powerful artifact that can be located within the Maelstrom. And eventually both sort of parties, Huron and the other member, the ally, which is actually an Angels in Carmine, or a former Angels in Carmine, both of them sort of go in and are now seeking out this artifact, which is really, really cool. We get a really nice look at Huron and how the sort of workings of the Red Corsairs and how he feels about stuff. This old, wise and crippled chapter master that he is, now this, renegade space marine leader. And so the book's purpose, really, this introduces and gives us an update on Huron Blackheart in more modern times in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, which is really, really nice. He's obviously a major sort of player in a particular area of space. Luke Huron is a really cool and popular character throughout the Warhammer 40,000 universe, so it's really nice to see him get this little bit of love. We get a really great insight into his character after obviously the Battle War is over. He's lost all of that. He's a little bit more crippled and stuff like that. But we get to sort of see his views on the galaxy, how it's changed, his thoughts on everything that's happened from Abaddon sort of causing a big ruckus to Guilliman being back, and all of this sort of stuff to the giant rift in space. It is really, really interesting just to sort of get a nice look at this and see how it's all sort of changed and stuff like that. And see his views on it and how he's dealing and coping with all these changes and overcoming them as well. And so our main character obviously is Huron Blackheart. I've been reading a lot of these lately where they've been very sort of singular character focused. I've obviously done the Sigismund and the Jane Czar stories not too long ago. But Huron Blackheart is obviously our main character. Formerly, if you don't know, he was Lux Huron, the chapter master of the Astral Claws. Now he is the leader of the Red Corsairs, a renegade chaos or Space Marine warband that exists in the Maelstrom. He was a really great sort of people person and could really make great speeches in his time, convincing other Space Marine chapters like the Lamenters, like the Executioners and Mantis Warriors all to join his cause. And he still managed to do this in a time like he has so many different Space Marines from so many different chapters joining him and sort of forsaking their vows to the Imperium. He really does have a purpose. Now, it is really interesting because he is a character that certainly does not view himself as chaos. He views himself as a renegade, as his own sort of empire within the Imperium, within the Maelstrom. He's, not a servant of chaos. He refuses to sort of accept help from the Chaos Gods and uses them as tools rather than worships them in any way, which is really interesting sort of look. He is a true renegade, not a Chaos Space Marine, which is really cool. And so what changes about the main character? And honestly, I would say not a lot. This story in general doesn't feel like a sort of progressive sort of story. This really does feel, as I said, like an introduction to Huron Blackheart. This introduces him into the modern time of Warhammer 40k, setting him up for future things. I would be certain if we saw another story of Huron later down the line, which I really hope we do. He is a great character. And I did enjoy this story quite a lot by Mike Brooks. Yeah, this is something sort of that doesn't really progress the narrative, but rather make sure he's set and sort of introduced into the modern timeline, giving him a place, giving him sort of his true identity, and just setting him up as a character for future stories about Huron, rather than actually being any sort of progressive part of his story. He definitely sort of overcomes obstacles within this story, that shouldn't be said, but I don't think anything sort of changes about him within this story that is massive in any way. It's really just learning about the character rather than anything changing about the character per se. And so, what does the book do? Well, like I've said, this book introduces Huron and establishes exactly what makes him really well. It does set the character in the universe, in the modern times, in the changed sort of timeline of Warhammer 40k, and really just cements him there. We get to see a lot and get to learn lots of little tidbits about how he was remained in charge of a bunch of renegade Space Marines for so long, despite, being that little bit crippled that he is. And we get, a small insight as well into the forces around him, some characters around him, some important pieces, and also just his general sort of workings as a character. It really does set him up well for, future things for him in Warhammer 40k in the, the Indominus sort of time, or whatever time we want to call that we're sort of in this time of the Imperium sort of striking back out on crusade once more. And so, who would like this book? Well, first of all, if you ever got sort of involved in the Bad Ab War story and want to sort of hear how that's progressed, or at least know what, I guess, the main character within that story has gone and done, this would be, the perfect sort of story for you. Learning about Huron Blackheart, seeing him set in stone in the modern time, you'd really enjoy this. Chaos Space Marine fans, certainly another story for you to have a look at if you like Chaos Space Marines. It's a fun story learning about a bunch of renegades, which really heavily focuses on renegade Space Marines. There's very few actual Chaos Legionnaires in the story. Most of them are renegades. Not to say there aren't Chaos Legionnaires as well, but the vast majority are renegades rather than actual Legionnaire Chaos Space Marines or anything like that. So yeah, if you're a Chaos Space Marine fan, you enjoyed the Bad Ab War stuff from Forge World, definitely a sort of story that you will enjoy. In summary, I don't think there's any better way to put this than this was a short, it was only about 6 and a bit hours long on Audible, but fun way of introducing a character into the modern Warhammer 40,000 setting. This story really just left me wanting more, not in a bad way at all though. It really makes me want to hear more about this character. I got hooked on Huron from this. I went and looked up Red Corsair rules, and I want to hear more about this character. I think I can't do anything, like a Black Library book cannot do any better a job than make you want to go collect an army of the character it's telling you about, especially when they are a named character of such renown like Huron Blackheart. And that's exactly what this did. I went and looked up Red Corsair rules. What can I do with this army? How can I get them? I probably am going to order a Huron Blackheart model at some point. Yeah, I really enjoyed this as a story. I look forward to hopefully seeing some more of Huron Blackheart in the future. But all in all, a really fun read. 7 out of 10 for me. It really got me hooked and made me want to go look at getting some Red Corsairs on the table. And so that is the end of the video. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel and drop a comment down below and let us know what you enjoyed about the video. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our little community here at Sinful Gaming, we've got a link to our Discord server down in the video's description. And if you'd like to help support the channel in another way, you can do so either by joining Patreon or YouTube members or purchasing something from our Ko-fi web store. All of them are linked in the video's description. Thank you all for everyone who chooses to help support the channel. As a special thank you to those people who have supported via Patreon and YouTube members, we'd like to give a special shout out to them all. So a shout out to our patrons Christian Weir, James, Soren, Greenskins Gaming, AJC, Kenny Lowe, Alarin Shop First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Q Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, Anton Nielsen, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Dyna226, Derek, and GRP390. A special thank you to our YouTube members, Green Roots Gaming, Kenton Young, Chris Wallace, Ronya, Vinny, Lock Lorick, The Johnny84, David Ellsworth, Revenar, Wolfric Nick, Broken Chef, Ariana Edwards, Sean Scott, Pink Nico Fire, and Robin Mankiller as well. Lastly, a special shout out first of all to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for the channel you see, and to Xmorphic, who has done an amazing job at setting up our Discord server for her and making us have a nice place to content and to chat with all of our community. Thank you all for watching once again, everyone. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.